3, 2, 1. Here we are, episode 3. I feel like I'm a little dark. There we go. There we go. Got to get those features. This grizzled ass features. Hello, episode 3. Richard's one beer. Common Jim down there on the bottom. Actually, you can't see him, so there's no bottom. It's just me. I wanted to give a shout out to us for having a direct impact on the economy. Last week, we decided to go ahead and call out some of these larger corporations accepting money via the PPP. Ruth Chris, for example, who has since returned the money. See with that, the power of the internet. See what we do with our voice, one unified voice. We get shit done. You're welcome. Whomever that fucking money goes to, it's probably just going to go to Trump and his buddies, but whatever, man. Maybe he can buy a ton of Clorox and Clorox and light bulbs that he can stick up his ass to prevent coronavirus. I want to pass it over to Rich Healy. We want to spend a few minutes talking about the PPP, and he has the most direct experience with what's happening because he's going through the process now. So if folks are interested in how it goes and how it's going. Rich, why don't you talk about that?
Well, it's funny. I was on the phone today with a buddy of mine who owns a brewery. I've been talking with a lot of restaurateurs as well. I sat through an extremely boring webinar about all the minutia that's tied into getting it paid back. I mean, obviously it's a program that a lot of people take advantage of or hope to take advantage of, but it's not something that was designed for restaurants, and you can really see that. We'll have 8 weeks to disperse 75% of the funds to our workforce. But for the most part, our workforce doesn't want to come back, and you can't really blame them. I mean, you got a lot of servers and bartenders and back of the house folks that are making unemployment than plus $600 stimulus and would rather not go and work in an environment that could be considered unsafe right now. So, you know, as a business owner, if I get that PPP money, I have to make a decision in terms of if I accept it or not, because it's probably not going to be forgivable. I can't ask my people to come back. Legally, I could, but that'd just be a shitty move for me to do. So it's a really weird state of limbo for business owners. I wouldn't be shocked if Shake Shack, Ruth Chris, and some of these other companies gave it back because they realized that they can't use it for the labor, in which case it's not forgivable. They'd have to give it back. There's no way their workforce is going to want to come back during this. They're okay with, you know, making what they're doing on unemployment and the stimulus. There was an article, I think in the Globe, which I think is a shit paper, but I did read this one article that someone sent.
Can I interrupt you? You're more of a Herald guy, yeah?
No, the Herald sucks too. They're garbage. The Herald's horrible.
You and
the
your
Herald's worse than the Globe.
And you and your Dunks regular hanging outside of store 24.
With my parliaments. No, they're both rags. But at least the Herald, there's some honesty in terms of the shit that it is.
I'm sorry. You know, hold on. What did your dad stick inside of you to make you be him for the evening? What is this? Globe's respectable fucking paper. The Herald's
the Globe blows. The Globe is a terrible paper.
Every paper is about to close. They're fucking papers. No one touches paper anymore. Look at this. I got a notepad. You know how long I've had this notepad? It's not mine.
There's nothing on it. There's nothing on your notepad.
Your notes right here. Intro. Talk about PPP. This is the amount of work I put into this. Hold on, you can see it. It stops halfway through.
You have derailed the PPP off your weird, strange defense of the Boston Globe.
Look, I'm less so defending the Boston Globe as I am shitting on you for saying the fucking Herald is a better piece of publication than the Boston.
I didn't say. I said the Herald sucks too. I said at least the Herald knows it sucks.
At least implies there's something better happening in that general direction.
No, it implies there's some honesty in terms of what it is.
Talk about the thing.
Either way.
Talk about the thing.
There was an article written in the Globe, and it was a restaurateur. I believe she owned a bit more of a bakery than a restaurant. And talking about the fact that she got approved for PPP. She was very happy about it. She went on the site's local communication page and said, we got approved for this, great. And she was expecting the staff to be very happy, very encouraging. And instead, she was met with a lot of resistance and a lot of anger from the staff that she accepted the money because her staff basically then had to come back to work. So it's been kind of wild. I'm lucky that my staff is as awesome as they are. And, this isn't really a concern for us in so many ways. It's things that we can work out between them. And, but it's just the PPP is a clusterfuck and a half for restaurants in general. It is, mostly for payroll. Obviously, 75% of it is for payroll. And with the restaurants, it's still something that is just in limbo, and whether or not we're going to be able to use this and it'll be forgivable. Odds are most of us will have to use it and won't be forgivable. But that's by design, in so many ways.
So if I hear you correctly, you can keep that money, but if you don't show that you're actually paying your employees with that 75%, you need to pay that 75% back.
Yes, in essence, that's 75% of the loan has to be used for employment in order for it to be forgivable. And if I don't use it for employment, I have to pay it all back with a little bit of interest after, I believe, 6 months. So it's designed for businesses with hourly wages. It's designed for small businesses that have high hourly, and restaurants, they're tipped employees. So it's definitely not designed for that. And it's funny. It's kind of handcuffing us. At the end of the day,
is there a stipulation that you need to bring back your previous employees?
Yes, I have to bring back a certain percentage of them. Ideally 100%, which, I'm not worried about that. I'm lucky. My people all want to come back to work eventually when this is over, but they want to come back when it's safe, and I don't blame them. But yeah, this whole program isn't to bail anyone out. It's to alleviate a broken unemployment system. And it's really very, very apparent that that's what it's for when you look at the lack of help it provides the restaurant industry. I don't know what else to say.
Yeah, that's tough. That's a bit of a pickle, man. I get folks not wanting to put themselves in harm's way. Yeah, there's just a lot of uncertainty. I'd like to go back to work. I don't want to get sick. I don't want to get other people sick, but god damn, I'm going out of my fucking mind sitting in this apartment, man. It's fucking cuckoo. It's cuckoo time up in here.
To be honest, that's where I get most of the staff that has come back to work our to-go stuff. They're volunteering, and they're just going stir crazy at home. We take the proper precautions. They're wearing masks, they're wearing gloves. We have everything set up so people are 6 feet away. And you obviously have to call in your orders and schedule it ahead of time, and then come pick it up in that time slot. And that's the safest way to go about it. It's just is what it is. I saw one write-up from a server. I think it was out of state. They were like, PPP money came in, and my boss now expects me to come back so people can have chicken wings. And that's an interesting way to look at it. It may not be a wholly accurate, interesting way to look at it. Your boss probably wants you to come back so that they can save their business. What will happen is you're going to have a lot of employees who don't want to go back for very logical reasons, other than the fact that they're making good money on unemployment and a stimulus check coming in. The employers will keep them on unemployment and basically let them make the call, because no employer wants to get shamed right now during this time, which also makes sense. A PR hit for a restaurant right now, would be a nightmare. Then when unemployment and the stimulus dries up, or we just go back, you're going to have a lot of restaurants that have closed down. So you're going to have a flood of front of the house and back of the house people who want their jobs back or want to get new jobs, and you're going to have less restaurants to employ them. So it's going to be a large problem when this is all said and done. And the employees that are the wisest right now are at least keeping a dialogue with their employers and saying, they'd want to come back, given this, or at least, trying to be amicable and at least civil about it. Some people I just see, I see bartenders going online being like, I'd never go back during this. It's better to collect unemployment and everything else. All right, well, as a business owner, at the end of the day, do I want that person like involved in my business? Probably not. They're not going to make the best call for me. That seems like a person who's kind of out for themselves. And when we're all in survival mode, that's just not a team player. And I'm not asking anyone to come back and put themselves at risk. You know, it's just the reality of the situation. Again, and you know what? I'm lucky. I get to speak hypotheticals in so many ways. My staff are fucking great. And I've had nearly all of them, you know, say that they want to come in and do this. And I've said, like, you know what, one or two or this in here, because again, it's not safe. And I've been there every day, and, you know, our GM's been there every day. So it's, you know, we're very lucky. But I know for some of these other restaurants, it's a really fucking painful limbo right now. It's just brutal. Yeah. So that's the PPP. But whatever. Jim, did I get anything right?
Not with
The logic of it?
No, you got everything right. One thing you guys forgot to mention is that Potbelly also returned their money too. So just wanted to make, that was our big, the big chain that was missing last week. They officially returned it today. So
Where the fuck is there a Potbelly?
not here. There's not one downtown.
That Sweet Green. I know Sweet Green returned their shit too.
Yes, correct.
Potbelly.
Oh, Jim! Wow, looks like somebody just corrected Jim. Minor misstep there, Jim.
We didn't bring up Sweet Green the last time, so why would we bring up Sweet Green now? Potbelly was only brought up last time, so that's why I only mentioned Potbelly.
Cool, Jim. Moving on before Jim starts talking more. This is my newest segment. It's called shit that's happening that people would normally give a fuck about, that no one gives a fuck about, that I'm pretty excited about. The Patriots. There's no Patriots.
We're gonna have to work on that title. We can
tighten it up a little bit, but it gets the point across. I'm excited that no one's excited about the shit we're supposed to be excited about. Fucking Patriots, man. There's no Patriots left. Aren't they all in like Florida now? Football guy. Go ahead. Talk about it. Okay.
Well, they drafted a kicker who's a 3%er, so that's fun. I enjoy that.
What does 3%er mean? What are you talking about?
You know that group, you know that we were talking about the deep state last time? The 3%ers kind of believe that the deep state exists, and they wanted to overthrow the government when Obama was in office. And they're a right-wing militaristic group, and they love their guns. And the Patriots kicker they drafted, Justin Rohrwasser, I believe. He has a tattoo that has the 3% logo on his forearm, along with one that says "Liberty or Death," and some other things. So,
I mean, I don't know much about this kid, but I assume he's a very wealthy white man who went to college at a very nice school.
He went to Rhode Island for 2 years and then transferred to Marshall University.
I don't know anything about that. I'm going to assume it's a wealthy white university.
It is a public university in West Virginia.
So, no, the opposite of that. But wait a minute. Is this, are these 3%ers, do they exist with any type of negative racial undertones?
Yes.
Of course they do.
So, I mean, is he going to survive the practice field?
Probably. I mean, he's probably safe on the South Shore.
Whatever. I hope he gets broken in half.
Leave him in Duxbury. He'll be fine. I know there'll be definitely a surge when if the NFL season starts back up in like roughing the kicker. That would be awesome.
He says he's going to cover up his tattoos. What that means is unclear because no reporters actually asked a good question.
Yeah, what does that even mean? Like, I wear a long sleeve and hope everyone forgets when there's like a 260-pound, like, you know, gunner coming to destroy him. I hope he gets crushed, which I'm sure is bad to say about another person. Whatever.
If you wear a Klan hood to a Klan rally, it don't mean you're going to wear it to the grocery store. You can't just cover that shit up. I mean, you can, but like that there's no meaning behind that.
You can't really cover it up when you're a semi-public figure, right? I mean, if I'm sure he's on a professional football team now. All that shit pretty much comes to light.
Well, you know, the Patriots are just keeping their strong tradition of being conservative fucking ass lickers alive and well, man. Alive and well.
As an aside, a police officer who had the same tattoo got suspended for showing that and wearing or showing it off while on the force. I believe it was in New York somewhere, but I could check that myself.
I mean,
Google that
that shit
shit.
is goofy. I guess I should talk about a beer that I'd be drinking right now. Hold on. So this is
there.
Honest Weight. All right. Honest Weight. Hold on. That's how you know it's Honest Weight. That's how you know it's Fun Crusher. Double IPA. All right. With Simcoe, Amarillo, and Citra hops. And it is fucking delicious. It's 8%. This is probably, or 8.5%. This is one of my favorite local beers. It's an awesome beer. The can art is, again, it's something that a local brewery kind of puts out where you already know where you're grabbing the beer, so it makes sense. It may be a little more difficult to figure out what it is on a store shelf or who it is. You kind of have to pick it up and take a look, and I don't think people are really smart enough to do that. I think they kind of need just big, bold, this is what the fuck it is in front of your face. But this is one of the best, I think they're probably one of the top 3 local breweries. I mean, honestly, their Belgian stuff is fantastic. Their dark stuff is fantastic, and when they do say fuck it, let's make an IPA that sells, they do that perfectly well. And they just don't really seem to give a shit about big distribution or anything else. They're kind of true to the game. Big fan of them.
Yeah, they make great beer. A lot of good farmhouse stuff. Yeah, their IPAs are good. ESBs, they don't always brew the sexy hazy shit, but like what they make is always rock solid. I mean, there's obviously a fucking really good pedigree coming out of CBC where Jay worked at one point. What's his name? Fucking, he's the kid that went to like Denmark to study for a while. Ben Howe.
Ben Health Clot, right? Health
Ben Howe.
No, oh yeah, Ben Howe. Thank you.
He's got a new thing that's going to open at some point, I think up in Washington, like fucking up north of Seattle somewhere, I believe. Bellevue or some shit. But yeah, it's a lot of good brewers that came out of there. I'm drinking, keeping it local still, again, Pale IPA. This is actually pretty dope, man. It's definitely kind of, I guess, in the old school, if that's the thing we have to say now, realm. I feel like Joe Connolly told people to like make port wipeout or something, and it's like sweet, bitter, and IPA-y. It's very refreshing. I had it with my dinner from the Keep 2 nights ago. Fucking solid. Got a growler of it from the Keep in Lowell. You guys ever been to Lowell? You should go to Lowell. Oh, Jim, what's your shirt say?
It says the Keep on it. If you ever find yourself in Lowell, it's right off the connector. So
I want to thank you both for the shameless plug. I appreciate it.
You paid us well.
I think I'm wearing it too, except I haven't washed it in like 3 days because quarantine.
I can't even see what you're so far away.
Oh, hold on.
Wearing
Jim.
There you go. That's better.
Jim, can you see it now? I'm not sure. Hold on. There it is. I think now the camera, sees it. Okay, whatever.
Everybody show their shirts. I'm wearing a shirt that says biscuit bitch on it. It's a hipster kind of punk rock biscuit restaurant in Seattle. There you go.
Shocking.
My beer, by the way.
Oh, sorry, Jim. Your beer.
Okay. From northern France. Brasserie La Choulette, sans culotte. So, beer de garde. So, if you like your saisons, you'll like beer de gardes too.
Jim, can you tell us the difference between a saison and a beer de garde, Jim?
Saisons are so. There's so many beers that could be considered saisons. Like, it's usually like beer de gardes are usually bigger and maltier. They come from a slightly different background, even though they're close to Belgium. Saisons are usually made with are usually a little fruitier and yeastier, whereas beer de gardes are a little maltier and a little more alcoholic. So that's the basic difference. Beer de gardes can also be darker, or there's no color requirement. Saisons are usually lighter.
Jim, while
Yes.
we are all riveted and sexually excited about your talk on the Beard Guard. We have Mr. Moxley, our guest, in the waiting room. Richard,
Fuck.
I'm going to admit him.
I better get to my second beer.
Yeah, Tim's gonna start drinking. I'm going to admit him, and I think you should give him the introduction. So
You're going to admit him. Yeah, bring him on in. Bring that guy in. There he is. Where is he? He's at the gaff.
Is he at the gap? Did he just sneeze?
Yeah.
That's my fucking face too.
Hey, Bob, man, how are you?
Good. What's going on?
What's your shirt say? We've been talking about our shirts for a little while. Keith Richards is.
Hold on a second. We're gonna drink beers and pretend we're in a bar. Should do it the right fucking way. What's up?
How are you?
I'm
Hold
good.
on. What's the shirt say? What's the shirt say, Mike?
It says Keith Richards is my spirit animal. Hi, Jim.
Hi, Mike.
How are you, man? Good to see
I'm
you
well.
guys. I'm here to bring some good energy.
As
I don't bring him up.
opposed to our regular bad energy.
Whoa! Who is that? Holy fuck, Rich! Jesus. You've gone full Grizzly Adams.
Oh yeah. No, I'm not taking care. I'm
Foraging
not
your
taking care
own
of myself.
food?
At all.
Are you? Wow. You're gone like Robert De Niro jackknife. You've gone
Yeah.
like get him a Yankee hat and a ponytail. Oh wow. It's like
I don't go to the store anymore. I just take food from the neighbors.
From the garbage
they're
cans.
fucking terrified of you, to be honest with you. All right, guys. Cheers.
Cheers, brother. I'm slowly thinking about other things that Tarantino looks like, and with the right distortion on my laptop right now, he looks like if Bryan Cranston never came back from the 60s.
Yeah, he looks like he was in the third or fourth season of Lost, and he went back on the time jump, and he just fucking stayed there. That's what Tino looks like right now. I like it though, Rich, and I really hope you're bringing this back to the restaurant when we get reopened in 2022.
No, it's gonna be far more excessive in 2022. Like
Yeah, I'm sure the beard will
not-
be like down to here by then, which would be great. I should grow one because it'll cover my breasts.
I mean, I've always just been looking for an excuse to not take care of myself, and this is one of the better ones I could think of.
Well, congratulations.
Thank you.
So what's new? What have I missed?
Tell us. Well, let's talk to you. Let's ask you questions. That's why you're here.
Great to be here. Thank you for having me.
Of course. Tell us how you've been spending your quarantine. What have you been up to?
Oh, well, a lot of home time. Not really able to do all that much, to be honest with you. A lot of time with the dogs. A lot of time working in the yard. I've been to the restaurant very little, to be honest with you. There's not much to do there. As you know, we wrapped up at the end of like the payroll cycle, and it was like the end of the week when we decided to close. So after that, it was like, it's been pretty quiet. Mercifully, I've had a little activity. Some neighbors have been calling and emailing, like, trying to buy some gift cards. So I've been going in there and processing those and watering the succulent program that Richard had started right before we had broke here. So I'm trying to keep those things alive. Just trying to do stuff, like cleaning and moving stuff around, going through the inventory, figuring out what's good, what's viable, what's not. It's a drag, man.
Yeah. No, it is a drag. I mean, I assume when you say going through the inventory, you literally mean like drinking through the inventory?
No, some of it. Like the draft is no longer viable, as you all know. Like the draft's like a lost cause now. Some of the cans, but we don't have that much craft cans. It's more like macro, like Budweiser, Miller, Coors level on the cans and bottles. And then all of our stuff was on draft. That was really where the juice was. It's just that the thing that the sting to it was that, I read this article. I think it was in the Wall Street Journal, which I really don't read. Someone forwarded it to me, so I'm not going to take credit for that. But basically, it was just about draft beer in general and how everybody was ramping up for St. Patrick's Day and March Madness, and a lot of beer got ordered, and it's trapped in stadiums and trapped in ballparks and bars and things like places like yours, Rich, and mine, and what's going to happen with it when it's all time to get things going again. It's a really interesting article. Check it out. Basically, we can't dump the beer down the drain all at the same time because it'll fuck up the pH of the water and et cetera, et cetera. So it is kind of a conundrum. And none of us want the beer because now we operate in a world where all this beer is has to be as fresh as possible. And that's the name of the game right now. Very little stuff, is like a Guinness or a Boddington's that can survive the time, or a Vine Stefan or a Veltins or something like that. We carry a few of them, but not a ton.
Mike, we should let everybody know the establishment that you own.
In Canary Square in Jamaica Plain. And I guess, just like when the Boston Globe talks about the Red Sox, I should say that Richard is the general manager of the restaurant. It's only fair to disclose that.
Yeah, that's Richard Quarantino, everybody. He's
It's the reason I'm here.
No, it's. I think that I was reading a. I'll stop talking so the camera can hit you now.
I want to sit over here. It's like I feel like
I've been told that's one of the better pictures of me, and I still think I hate it. And I look angry.
Let's pretend we're in Germany. All right, that's all the ball bust that I'm going to do.
That was pretty good, though.
Thank you.
That's a good bar.
Yeah.
No, I was reading, I think, the same article, and they said it's like 1 million kegs of beer.
Yeah.
That's a shitload of beer.
What's really alarming, and I didn't know this, and maybe I'm stupid, but it said that in England, it's a real conundrum because 50% of the beer is consumed in pubs, where in the United States it's only 20%, which I thought was a very low number. Pubs and restaurants, like publicans like you and I. But in the United Kingdom, it's a much higher number. I guess it shows what their level of drinking means to socializing and, getting out there and being in the pub and talking and, every once in a while you act like the asshole and all the rest of the days you laugh at the other people. And that's part of the culture of pubs. That's part of all of it. So I can understand why people in England might not want to sit at home and drink a 4-pack, whereas here we're sort of conditioned to doing these things.
Yeah, I've noticed, at least when I was thinking about opening up our pub, I based it on a European model, and I had to make changes early on because we don't have the same type of drinker. They're not the same mentality. Whereas people will sit in the pub there for hours, and it's almost like being in a coffee shop or a park. It's very communal. People come in, expect to see other people, and there's we just don't seem to have that atmosphere here anymore. Or maybe we did. So yeah.
Maybe we will again. I had this conversation the other day with somebody that maybe this will mark some sort of a renaissance of bars and what they used to be to all of us older guys. But for the younger people, get when we finally can get back out there and want to be with people, this is the key place to do it. Like being in a bar, in a restaurant, especially a pub, is the unique place to put it all together. So maybe in some ways we'll have a resurgence and a revival where people won't be on their phones maybe necessarily as much, and they will take advantage of the fact that they're surrounded by people that do want to talk to them. Maybe.
Yeah, I'd like to think that maybe people will value human contact and interaction a bit more after being kind of having it stripped away from them for an extended amount of time. Hopefully, that would be a good result of all this bullshit.
I think there's a lot of opportunities to strip away a lot of things here. There's an opportunity to strip, like, you basically have to look at everything and be like, look, that's the way it was, but right now and moving forward, it's going to be different, as they say with everything, like this is the new normal. But like that has to affect our industry too. And meaning like, well, if this means that we can become like Philadelphia and you can come in and get 6-packs and growlers to go, great, so be it, like that's just the way it is. If it's working now and they're allowing it to happen, why can't they continue to allow it to happen? Maybe that's part of the new normal. Maybe people talking to each other and experiencing that pub culture, or maybe that more like bodega kind of thing. It's like when they come in and they can buy groceries, which is what some people are doing now. And maybe that culture will continue to develop, and that's what people will continue to do in some degree. But you're going to have a lot of real estate and a lot of places. Unfortunately, they're not going to be able to maintain themselves if this continues all that much longer. We all know that. It's been talked to death. But the reality is that somebody's going to move in those places, and it's either going to be somebody that's local and has a footprint in the community. And if somebody like that doesn't step forward with some sort of a new vision and a new plan based on what the new normal is, another fucking Chili's or another Applebee's or another Panera or another fucking fuck is just going to move in, and it's going to get Fort Lauderdale up in here real fucking fast. And unfortunately, the commercial real estate is the big segment of that. So if we can pivot and twist what we're doing and change everything, and if anyone's like, well, geez, that's not the way it was before, it's like, don't even fucking say this shit, right? Like there are people, like their banks are leaving them in the fucking street. I mean, I'm one of these people. Like, I don't want to talk about that, but I'm one of them. Like, no one's doing a fucking thing for me. And I'm not standing there and saying, oh, poor me. Poor everybody. We're all in the same fucking boat right now. But if I have to pivot, I'm not done grandstanding. If I have to pivot my business just 1 degree and be like, well, you know what? I need to be able to sell growlers to go at $12.30, for an extra fucking $150. Like, bam, 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 bam. There you go. And they go, oh, no, nay. Well, why? You let me do it for 6 fucking months, or you let someone do it because they're selling fucking deviled eggs, and if you buy deviled eggs, you can buy fucking beer. Well, come on. Like, I have a record, you have a track record, we all track records, right? Like, they monitor what we do and how well behave as publicans and how we treat our guests and how we deal with issues that come up. And that's dealt with through the licensing board and by the police department. And if you have a good record and people can look at what you've done and you have a pedigree, why should we not be able to continue this along moving forward?
Well, the funny thing is, they've already let this happen. And to be honest, you grandstand very well, sir. But before, I mean, you have breweries that are full restaurants, basically, that are doing growlers and to go, and no one's complaining it. You have Healy, who has a beer and wine shop that's in there, and sure, they have a glass door separating it, but it's the same thing. They're gigantic restaurants and markets that doing it. So our state has already made these concessions for $1 million corporations and breweries. To be honest, the only thing we're asking is that you keep these laws in place that finally gave us an even playing field. Like, how many breweries do you go to where you can get a pizza, wings, fries, have a beer, walk up, buy a 4-pack to go, or a growler to go, and then be gone? It's a large breweries do that, and restaurants should be able to do the exact same.
Where are you going into? You know what? I don't want to talk about breweries. I really don't. It's like, that's pre-pandemic conversation. We got bigger fucking fish to fry here. Like, the reality is this, okay? Is that who do you think benefits the most from seeing us fill growlers to go in restaurants? Who benefits the absolute most from that? Just your opinion. There's no right answer. I'm just asking.
I'd say it's a combination. I'd say it's probably, I don't think it's necessarily breweries, probably distributors.
I mean, I think it's probably the consumer.
Bingo. Richard hit it right on the head, right? It's the guest. Like, if you walk in there and you're like, well, you got this baller brewery that we're getting, or if it's like, some Trillium beer that we pour or something like that, and you can't get it in the package store, or it's only in a draft format, and they can buy it to go there, and we're not porking them. We're treating the price and respecting the product and selling it the way that it's supposed to be sold. What harm is there? The consumer wins.
Markup, I think this is, so I'm selling growlers right now. And I'm selling growlers the way some of the other guys are that we kind of, that chat that you and I are on, right? We came to a certain thing that this is how we're going to get rid of some beer without it coating. Beer that we don't know if we'll be able to get credit for or anything else. So let's get them in growlers and get them out. Deep Ellum, very nice there. So we fill up, the growlers, charge them cost of the growler, do the growler fill for $20 and get them out the door. Because a lot of these people, they're not looking at the same connect that you and I do, right? They go to a brewery and they see a $16 growler fill to an 18 to 20, maybe 22 for 64, and they're fine paying that. But then they go to a restaurant, and I was looking at the way that it's done in Philly, and you're looking at growler fills of like $40 and higher. And the reason that worked in Philly for so long is because you could only get a case of beer or more at a store. You had to go to a brewery to do it.
You had to go to a distributor to get a case of beer. Like literally.
I'm familiar with that. I watched your last episode.
If I charge the same amount as, if I charge basically the same markup for my pint, then people aren't going to do it. They're going to go to the liquor store, buy the 6-pack, buy the 4-pack, or just go to the brewery. So, I mean, it's an additional service at the end of it. So in order for me.
Hello?
Oh.
I'm here.
Is he gone? Who's gone?
I believe. Oh.
In order for me, I'll just assume what he was going to continue saying. In order for me to continue best serving my, where is he? Oh, he's done. I guess he's gone.
He's froze up. I think he has RCN or dial-up, maybe.
Yeah.
He's got Earthlink.
Back to where we were. Growler fills. I would be interested to see if they try and pull back these new laws basically that they've put in place and what their justification could possibly be, how they would sell that to consumers.
See, the thing is that they're not laws. They're like decrees, right? And they make an announcement. They notify all of the licensees. So maybe decree is not the right word. I could probably pull it up on my phone, but it's not a law. It's sort of like, hey, right now this is what we're going to allow, and there's certain things that they have. And the first thing was like you can do beer to go, and then you could sell food to go, and things like that of that nature. But these things are so able to be changed almost overnight that, I mean, it's like, how much weight do you put in it? That's sort of the problem with the draft thing. It's like, how much infrastructure do you put in buying growlers when, you might not be able to use them in, say, a month, like best case scenario, right? But like, say it's 3 months. And then, so that means you go into the growler business where it's like, you got to sanitize these things and you have to charge deposits and fill them the right way and things. You know what I mean? It's like, there's a lot of work that goes into that. Rich, you can attest to that, right? Oh, no, Rich is still frozen, but that's the thing that's intimidating to me, about the growler thing. I mean, we could buy a bunch of craft cans and do that, but I just don't know.
I mean, it seems like it just has to do with the history of the state that you live in, since alcohol laws are determined by the state for the most part. Like this, Massachusetts, you couldn't sell on Sundays until 15 years ago in the off-premise trade.
Right.
So you have to.
If you remember, like, they changed it the first time, Jim, where it's like liquor stores within 10 miles of the border could open on Sundays. Do you remember that?
No, I was living in Illinois, so I was.
It's so draconian in some ways, but it's like, well, liquor stores are closed on Sunday. Fine, we moved past that. Everyone drove to New Hampshire if they were too stupid. And then the people on the border towns were complaining they were losing all their business to New Hampshire, so they changed it. So it was like within 10 miles of the border, you could sell it. And then I think a year or two later, they 86 that completely.
Yeah, it seems like we have to get people used to the way things are now, and then the laws may loosen up even more. And it doesn't seem like there's nothing really logical about how things are, but it's just the way things came, like how things proceeded through history. So if we want to continue and loosen things up a little bit more, then we have to show that this is how it's going to be, and that's what we need to do in the future.
I think the best thing that we all have going for us right now is the fact that there's so much love for our industry, and you see, like people are talking about us in the GoFundMe things that are set up by other people for restaurants. It's super, super encouraging, and what I'm hoping, and sort of tied into my first filibuster, hey, Richard's back, was the fact that also too, if people are becoming more sensitive to the plight of restaurateurs, if we could start moving back to a cash culture in our industry and away from credit cards, it helps more than any singular thing moving forward in the industry. And it's great that people are willing to use DoorDash and have them deliver. But the most helpful thing you could do for any restaurant is to pick up your phone and call the restaurant, order your food, then get in your car, drive there, pay in cash, and then tip generously, and then drive home. That is a win situation for restaurants that are open during this time, that really don't need to be giving 2 to 3% to their credit card companies, if not more, if some of them do have more. But do things like that. And if people get more conditioned to using that, we get back to when I first started with the Common Ground in 1995, okay? So if you just use like $1,000, you say you made $1,000, okay? $900 of it would be cash and $100 would be credit cards. Now, if you go back to just 5 years ago, it's exactly the same, opposite. $1,000 where 900 is credit cards and not even 100, maybe $50 is cash. And that's the culture of the society that we live in, and that's fine. But now with all of this, I think people are more sensitive to what's going on with us. And if we can continue on a cash culture here, this definitely is something that's going to help us more than any single thing, any GoFundMe, anything, because it continues to pay forward and pay forward and pay forward. And that's the most important thing.
Mentioned very briefly, you mentioned DoorDash, and that's another thing that I hope maybe people come to learn a little bit more about, is just how roughshod these food delivery applications, Grubhub and fucking Uber Eats and everything else, just shit on restaurants with their fees. And hopefully again, people can learn that, while it's convenient, I mean, and you think long term, if more restaurants are forced to get into that game, and regardless of how long you try and fight it, if it comes to a point where you have no choice, the price of the food is going to go up for everybody. You're paying the fee, you're paying all the percentages, and the restaurants are going to have no choice because they're making less money off their products, off their goods, because they have to fucking pay these delivery services. So that's another hopefully positive outcome. I've seen some negative articles online, folks kind of coming to realize what those services do and what they charge.
Well, there's, in the normal delivery model, right? It's like your product, your food, and the guest, right? Usually there's one person and he's related into your business that brings to the guest. Now there's 3 different fucking people in between. It's like you go online, use an app, it goes to a third party who processes it, and then it takes payment, and then it sends it to somebody, and send however the fuck it goes to the restaurant. And then it sends it out to the driver, and it says, hey, pick this food up in 20 minutes. And he shows up 5 fucking minutes later, and he's tapping his foot it's the fucking food, where's the fucking food, right? And then he brings it, or she brings it to wherever they're going. And then as we saw, people were eating out of the boxes and stuff like that. My employees wouldn't do that. Richard's employees wouldn't do that. But you have all these different people that aren't operating on the same level of what you're doing in your industry. And then on top of it, they take 20%. So if the food's smushed, the food's fucked up, or the food's whatever, well, I'm just going to go on Yelp. I'm just going to do whatever. And that's not fair, because it's not us that's doing it. It's these fucking third-party companies that are being used that are somewhat predatory. I won't say they all are, but some of them are. And the fucking fees that they take are so much that it's not worth it. It's just not fucking worth it. And I don't, and I understand, like, okay, maybe if it's like 10% of my business, fine. 15%, okay, fine. You know, like if I'm fully open and operational, but if like that's the footprint of my business or the spine of my business and what I'm doing, and they're taking 20%, it's like, fuck that. I'll go work at Costco. Like, I don't fucking need this shit. Like, it's hard enough. Like, so many fucking people, but you know, don't understand like how hard it is to operate in this industry. Fucking you guys do, but it's a lot of people don't, right? And it's not a fault of theirs, but when you have these like, oh, the convenience of using a third party, yeah, but you have to understand the devastation that it might take to the industry as a whole if it becomes the muscle memory of like, well, this is what you're supposed to do. Because it started with credit cards, because you go to a bar and it'd be like, what can I spend? Like spend my money. And then it's like, it's like muscle memory, credit card. Now it's like, I can't even get off the fucking couch and go down and pick up the food. So I'm just Uber Eats or whatever, right? It's like, that's the muscle memory. Because it doesn't cost, it costs them what, an additional fee of like $3.50 fucking cents or whatever it is, right?
You can buy a membership now. Now you can buy a membership and it doesn't even cost you a fee. It's something that's there.
I want people to help me. I want relationships that work, and I want people to represent my brand and what I do as well or as close to what Richard and I do. You know, like if we hired a delivery person and had a car or a bike and they were out delivering and there were inconsistencies or like things like that, we can directly interact with that. You know, now there's like so many. There's so many, and I just don't see it as how it can be successful overall. I respect the restaurants that don't do to-go food. You know, like there was a legion of people starting to do that in like Chicago, New York, and be like, no, we're not doing to-go food. And you know, one of the restaurants actually that I used to own, when we opened that restaurant, SRV, the chefs didn't want to do food to go, and I believe they still don't. And the reason why had nothing to do with any of the issues that we just discussed. It had to do with the fact that, as we all know, that any plated food in a restaurant does not play as well at home. It's fair, right? And,
Yes.
And they felt as though that they were worried about how it would look and how it would play out, and I respect that.
Yeah, no, it's a good point. Healy, you've returned. What are you doing, buddy?
So I have had connectivity issues, and I'm not even sure if it's picking me up.
Why don't you stop stealing the fucking neighbor's internet and just pay for your own?
I don't even know if I can. I think I have to set. I'm having weird connectivity issues. This is what I get for buying a Dell. I got to spotlight myself in order to get it going. The active camera's Bush League, but whatever. It is what it is. Mike, as soon as I get this thing plugged in so I can guarantee that it's actually still doing its job, there we go. We will sing your praises and let you get the final word here. So I'm going to put the camera on you.
Don't worry. Well, I'm not on Facebook, so I've seen some of the shows, so the final word, I'm assuming that this is my farewell and you guys bounce me out the door and then rag on me and bring in the next guest. Who is the next guest?
You're the only guest today.
Only one. We're only one going forward.
Hey, no, all I want to say is that as far as Canary Square and Jamaica Plain go, thank you for the calls, the emails, the visits. It means a lot, and you know, we want to get back open as quickly as possible. That's the most important thing. But you know, it's hard in this time because hey, we're gonna do this just for my last thing. I want it to be at the right time, and I don't want it to be forced, and I don't want to open just for the sake of opening. I'm blessed in the situation that I'm in, that I can wait, and we're gonna wait it out, and I'm not gonna put myself or other people in a tough spot. You know, I'm very happy with Jamaica Plain, and my neighbors, like, they've been the most supportive during this tough time. The most important thing is that Rich and I get back to work. Like I'm aching to get in there, and there's like a whole bunch of new stuff that we want to do. Like we're introducing pizza. That's the first time I've uttered those words in this format. But we're introducing pizza, and we had Brian O'Donnell, our chef, is moving on to Rhode Island with his brother Kevin O'Donnell, who's opening his first restaurant by himself down in Newport. So we're sad to see him go. We didn't get the opportunity to say goodbye to him the right way, which is kind of sad, but that, unfortunately is what it is. Charlie Red, who owns Dragon Pizza in Somerville, is coming on board here. I don't know if any of you guys are familiar with Dragon Pizza. Charlie used to own a place called Reds and Rossi. He's also used to be my chef at Coda. I love him. He's a great guy. He's fun and enthusiastic, and I'm really looking forward to working with him. But, it is what it is. I just want to say thanks to everybody, and, just stay safe, I guess.
It's very good to see you, Mike.
You too,
Yeah.
Rich.
Good to
Thanks,
see
Mike.
you.
Richard, good seeing you. Jim, take care of yourself.
I'm trying.
All right, guys. See ya.
All right, fellas. I think I'm going to have to purposely put the camera on myself if it's going to. Can you hear me right now?
Yeah, you're fine.
It's good, but for some reason, it's just on you, Jim. So I'm going to do my best.
You got dial up?
I think it's just the fact that I'm recording off a computer now. But the iPad was a little easier. Let me see if I can still figure this out. I mean, it's not like everyone anticipated this going completely right. Integrated webcam. But one of you should talk about something while I figure this out so we don't look like jackasses. I'm the jackass, obviously.
I'll talk about my beers then. So that clear beer you saw me drinking was Breakside, Hale Nelson, part of their Keeper series. Series of IPAs. This one's all Southern Hemisphere hops. It was delicious and clear, thank God. And then now I've opened up a 3-year-old bottle of Crux Double Cross from Bend, Oregon, a Belgian strong dark ale. So looking forward to that.
How is it? Have you tried it? Let's hear about it. You don't need to look forward to it. You can just drink it and talk about it.
So they use North American hops in it. Those are obviously just for preservation. I don't really get much. Nose is a little like gluey when you first open it, but when you open it up, it's malty, it's rich, raisiny, nice long lingering finish. This is fucking awesome. So
You just said you think they're using hops for preservation. Are we on the East India fucking trading route right now? What's happening?
Rich, didn't you run a beer program for like 6 or 7 years or something?
I know the history. I know the history and the purpose of hops, but I don't think a lot of brewers think preservation when they're hopping their beers these days. To make the long train, long covered wagon trip, fucking New York to San Francisco.
Well, Belgian style beers are not hoppy for the most part, and doubles, triples, quads, strong ales, whatever you want to call them. The hops are used mostly as to preserve, and they bitter, but they don't really add any aroma to the beer. I don't taste any hops in this honestly at all, which is fine. But it's an 11% Belgian strong dark ale. So
I think this is the most we've ever talked about Belgian beer, and I like the fact that it has been all about Jim. This is the second lesson of Belgian beer that Jim has unwittingly given everyone watching this, or the few people watching this, on good Belgian beer.
And this is a brewery that came out here 3 years ago and unfortunately flopped, mostly because of format. And if you can find any of their bottles kicking around, they make awesome stuff. The founder, Larry Sador, used to be the head brewer at Deschutes. He created the Abyss, If you like Imperial Stouts, that's one of the best known ones in the country. So I highly recommend looking for some of Crux's bottles.
Hey, Jim just completely disregarded your comment, Rich. And he got a bottle of Abyss once at a 7-Eleven in Sparks, Nevada. Fun fact.
Wow. Holy shit.
I was not expecting to see that at a 7-Eleven in Sparks, Nevada, but there it was. So I bought it.
How much was it?
It wasn't much. I don't remember. This is probably 10 years ago, but it was an acceptable price. It was an acceptable price point to me at that time.
That's awesome. That's fucking sweet.
So we didn't get to Quarantinoville, unfortunately this time. We're gonna have to make sure we do that next time. We can blame that on the time limit. Even though we had one guest, we're still 5 minutes over what we were last time. But Jim, you said you were going to take notes and let us know what we fucked up. So please, Jim, if you wouldn't mind.
The only thing that we fucked up was something that I said. So Mike was pretty much on point with his numbers regarding consumption on and off premise in Britain versus here. The only thing wrong that I said was when we were talking about the Patriots new kicker, I mentioned a police officer who was suspended for sporting a 3% tattoo. I said he was in New York. It was actually in North Carolina. So I apologize for that. I'll be better next time.
I don't think I accept your apology. You're apologizing because you fucked up the state a police officer whose name we didn't know. No, that's okay. You don't have to apologize for that. It just makes more sense now that you said it all. Richard, do you want to play us out on your synthesizers with the song, or at least play the music for us? I mean, we'd all appreciate it. I'm sure a few people out there would find it entertaining. Nick Cusick's probably watching. He'd enjoy it.
I think it might sound like shit through the speakers, but we can do our best. What we got here? Play the theme song. Play the theme. Play the theme for the show. Hold on. Where's one right here? Over here. Over here.
Great. We can't hear anything.
Bring the computer closer.
We can't hear anything. Can you hear anything, Jim?
No.
There we go.
Oh, God.
Yeah. That's all I got.
That was all you got, and we barely got any of it. Perfect.
I can't play it and carry the fucking laptop around at the same time.
It's the perfect analogy for the show. All right, everybody. 58 minutes, just shy of an hour. That'll do. Thanks for watching, Mom. Adios.
Bye.